7 to 8
Give me
minutes.
7, that's fine. Good evening, Joe Imbriano, Fullerton parent, and I also run the FullertonInform.com website. Item 2A. I wanted to talk about the increased developer fees on new residential and commercial industrial construction. Oh, is that an action item? I'm sorry. I'll just briefly touch on it. It's going to add more money to the cost of the house. If we don't have enough money to operate, we don't need to be raising fees on new home purchasers. We need to live within our means. Item 1W, the memorandum of understanding to provide parent empowerment through technology at Commonwealth School. On the surface, this appears to be a noble endeavor, but what this is going to do is, because the iPad does not have an Ethernet port, if it did, you'd have to really rig something that's pretty complicated. It's going to force and bring wireless exposure into every child's home. So the child's going to have to irradiate his entire family in order to do his homework on his device. So that's a really, really bad idea. Aside from the financial outlay on that, Item 1V, out-of-state conference. Once again, technology. I don't know, I wasn't really paying attention to how much money you were spending before all this stuff showed up, but it's really amazing how complicated this technology is. You know, teaching, my brother's a teacher. By the way, he got Teacher of the Year in Anaheim, so I got to take my hats off to him. Even though he doesn't agree with me, he's still a heck of a teacher.
Congratulations. Not for 9 days.
But as far as what we're doing here, I mean, you know, teaching, they break out the same old slides on the overhead, go over the same math problems, and you know, we made it through 2 world wars with the biggest manufacturing base on the planet, and it's almost like we're going into a regressive state right now. It's amazing how you got to retool all your employees to figure this stuff out. I'm not against technology, but I am against the direction it's going in, the way it's being delivered, and the way it's being abused. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, that the technology is a doorway to a lot of bad things. And if you really took a look at the frames on the video games, there's no children in here. Pornography. I had a 4th grade child at Acacia Elementary, and he was telling me his friend was watching RedTube on the playground. So, you know, this is the kind of stuff, we can't stop it, but, you know, I didn't see people bringing bales of marijuana into my neighborhood in Garden Grove as a child, as the gateway drug to LSD and all the other things that all these teenagers on my street got messed up on. But we're certainly opening a doorway to screen time addiction, sleep deprivation. You know, the light frequency, not the Wi-Fi, not the 2.4 gigahertz emission coming from the transmission of the data, but just the light, just the degree of Kelvin of the light. It affects melatonin production. It creates insomnia. Kids can't fall asleep. They don't get enough sleep. And consequently, we've got more 2 left-footed children than any time in our history. Their cognitive functions are down. Autism is skyrocketing. That's a whole other animal I've discussed at length. 1 arm. Risk consultants to conduct a workers' comp actuarial study. I certainly hope they're looking at the possible health risks associated with forced wireless exposure, because the teachers are going to be stuck in these rooms for 20 or 30 years in hopes of getting a pension that probably is not going to be there based on the current economic conditions. And they're the ones who are really going to face the most exposure. Because when you go home, you're going to have a cell phone, you're going to have a cordless phone, you're going to have a low-powered access point. But when you're in these classrooms with multiple access points that are planned with 35 devices, plus maybe another 20 cell phones emitting at the same time, trying to connect back and forth with the router that they're not supposed to be using, but they got them anyway because no one's enforcing it. That's an unprecedented level of exposure for your employees. That needs to be looked at. 1H, the out-of-state conference at Harvard University. This one is really amazing, because I hope whoever's going when you're there, Mr. Burchett, whatever his name is, I hope you look up Martha Herbert, who's got a PhD in pediatric neurology. She looks at brain scans for a living, and she talks about how wireless emissions in the classroom setting, power level, star rating, and frequency that's being utilized is a complete detriment to learning. It creates all kinds of health problems. It's also directly linked to autism. And I don't know about you, but she's got a PhD in pediatric neurology. That's quite a candle to hold something to. I don't even come close to it. And it's not about me. You know, I've kind of gone on a limb on the fertility issue. I guess we can touch on that a little bit, but these experts didn't just fall off the turnip truck. These are serious people with serious credentials. I don't know what we're doing educating children if we're going to run through 16 years of mind control and have them, and the grown-ups that are sitting here ignore the ones that came before them that have accomplished amazing things academically. So when we have people spend their entire career, spanning decades, researching, and we totally ignore those because we say, oh, there's crazy scientists over here, and there's crazy scientists over here, then why are we throwing the baby out with the bathwater and ignoring the potential harm? I've never seen a situation where it comes to children where we've looked the other way. I just have never seen anything like this in my life. If somebody came to me and said, hey, there's phthalates on the seat covers, and there's BPA on the plastic bottles, we got to do something about this. Or if somebody had a Class 2B carcinogen emitting body shop next door and they were running automobile exhaust through the HVAC systems, you probably shut down, the police would show up. Wireless microwave radiation is a Class 2B carcinogen, and according to an oncologist, Leonard Hardell, she would be probably classified as a 1A or a 1. Because his work was peer-reviewed, it was over a 10-year window, which none of the wireless industry-funded studies looked at, clearly showed a direct link between glioma and blastoma for high-use cell phones. And this was over a decade ago. Can you imagine what's going on now? And I have a neighbor, I should say I have a neighbor, she smoked Pall Malls and drank Jack Daniels for breakfast. And she had a colostomy bag 10 years ago and she's still alive. My dad never smoked, my dad never drank, my dad died of colon cancer. People are affected in different ways. People have different resistance to different types of environmental exposures. Different people are affected in different ways by microwave emissions as well. Some children have bloody noses, and your school nurses, if they're being honest, and if you're being honest, Dr. Pleka, I've spoken with at least one, and there's a huge incidence of bloody noses going on right now. And I don't know whether they're being reported, but that's a sign of chronic low power level microwave exposure. That's one of the reasons I took my son out. It went away when he left. The donation for iPads, from Target, from the technology foundations, I just don't understand why, we're cramming upwards of 35 kids in a room and we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars putting this weaponry in. And autism rates are skyrocketing. The children out on the ball field are not the same from a couple years ago. And I'm telling you right now, it's all in your hands. And I'm going to keep coming back, and I urge you all to please open your eyes to all this. Thank you.
Okay. On our consent agenda, we have items 1A through 1II. We've touched on a couple already. 1B is our gifts that we always like to acknowledge. So, Carmen, if you could put up 1B, do my fellow board members have any items you'd like to